This is Hashtag History, episode 169. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Leah.
And this week we are talking about what you all wanted to talk about. We did a poll over on Instagram between this topic and another one, and you all responded resoundingly that you wanted to hear more about Ronald Reagan. More specifically about that time he was almost assassinated.
Right.
It wasn't like a bunch of people eagerly
really wanting to learn about the life and times of Ronald Reagan.
Especially since we hear his name quite literally every single day now. I feel like people were like, I've had enough. But yes, please do tell us more about the time he was shot and almost died. That's right, everyone. This week we are talking about the attempted assassination of Ronald Reagan. On March 30th, 1981, President of the United States, Ronald Reagan, was shot outside of the Washington Hilton in Washington, D.C. as he was leaving a speaking engagement. He was shot by a man named John Hinckley Jr., a 25-year-old who had fallen in love with actress Jodie Foster after seeing her in the movie Taxi Driver, which she starred in when she was 12 years old.
I always forget this connection. Always forget it.
And this is the one piece that I always remember. I'm like, yeah, this is the Jodie Foster one. Yep.
Yeah.
If in his delusion, he believed that if he successfully killed the president, that it would garner her attention and that she would be impressed.
Right. 12-year-old Jodie Foster.
And we'll talk about this, by the time of the attempted assassination, she was 18.
That doesn't make me feel better.
But it's still an assassination. Like the action hasn't changed just because her age
also
changed.
Just like the obsession starting with a 12-year-old,
precisely.
And then a 13-year-old, and then a 14-year-old, and then a 15-year-old, and 16 and 17-year-old, and honestly, 18-year-old.
Yes, and actually, we'll also continue until she's 19 years old, and yes. I don't know why I was trying to explain, no, but she was older at the time. She was just outside of being a minor when this happened. It's okay. Reagan was actually seriously injured during this attempt. When he was thrown into his limousine by his servicemen, they originally thought that he had broken a rib or something, and that's why he was experiencing chest pain. But they discovered after he reached the hospital where he collapsed that Hinckley had successfully hit him with a bullet that had come within an inch of his heart. He miraculously recovered and was released just a few weeks later.
And that's it. No, I'm joking.
I know. And then he terrorized the country for another 8 years. No, I'm just kidding. As for his would-be assassin, he was found not guilty by reason of insanity and was sent to a psychiatric hospital, or as I wrote here, hospital. He was sent to a psychiatric hospital that he was actually released from in 2021. So, yes, he is out and about, and
you think he's still obsessed with Jodie?
Great. She has come out as a lesbian in the years since, so
he didn't care that she was a non-consenting minor. Why would he care that she's a lesbian?
Why would he care that she's a continue to be non-consenting adult? You're correct.
Right.
Yeah. Why do I keep trying to make justifications here? What's going on with me? I need a drink. I need to get back into the right mood. No, I don't want to spend this whole episode talking about just Reagan and Hinckley, because one of the major pieces of the story that so many people neglect to tell is that several of Reagan's staffers and local policemen were also wounded during the assassination attempt, including White House Press Secretary James Brady, who was hit in the head and, as a result, suffered from brain damage for the rest of his life. Oh. It's actually because of Brady and his wife that we have the Brady Law, or the Brady Handgun Violence Prevention Act of 1993, which established federal background checks on firearms and a 5-day waiting period for handgun purchases. I mean, we have a long ways to go in gun reform, right? But we have the Bradys to thank for a huge, huge step of it. Yes. So clearly we have a lot to talk about, but before we can talk about anything at all, I think we all know what we have to do first.
I feel like it's been a while since we did that. Or was it just last week? I don't remember.
And I feel like we do it every week. I don't know.
I'm Rachel.
And I'm Leah.
And this is Hashtag History, the podcast for both history nerds and history haters alike. where we dive into history's greatest stories of controversy, conspiracy, and corruption.
Oh my gosh. So today's cocktail is once again sponsored so generously, so sweetly, so repetitively by Courtney.
Thank you so much, Courtney. We mean it as the biggest compliment when we say repetitive. Like,
Yes,
that is
absolutely.
the biggest compliment ever that you have sponsored pretty much half of this season.
Seriously, thank you so
Thank you.
Okay, so apparently Ronald Reagan's signature go-to drink was the Orange Blossom Special, which was a frankly delicious sounding cocktail containing vodka, grenadine, or sweet vermouth in some cases, and orange juice, which actually would also have been really easy to make.
Yeah, I actually have almost all those things.
Yeah. So that was the obvious choice, but after stumbling upon the American Prohibition Museum's webpage about presidential drinking, which I've linked for you, Rachel,
Wow, well, thank you.
I had to change
I
gears.
appreciate that. You're like, since I know you will be reading this when you can't fall asleep tonight.
According to this website, though he did have ties to the Orange Blossom Special, Reagan is most notably known for being a connoisseur of California wines.
Oh, me too.
Yeah. Due to his time living here in our lovely state as a Hollywood actor and then as governor of California. While not known for being a huge drinker, even when he was younger, in fact, he even reportedly pissed off his Desperate Journey co-star, Errol Flynn? Anyways, he dumped a shot of, or was known to like dump shots of bourbons into like spittoons on set rather than keeping up with Flynn and the rest of the cast while they drank. So, that apparently pissed people off.
Yeah, that would do the same for me. Reagan was super fit and was like really on top of his health.
Yeah.
Particularly after the assassination attempt.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he
I
got
didn't-
like
okay.
really buff afterwards, I guess.
I don't
and had to
remember
like buy new.
that weird suit, those weird suits he wore. I can't.
Oh,
picture
yeah.
that. I don't know. Anyways, Reagan apparently, this is a direct quote from the website. Quote, stocked the White House cellars with California Chardonnays, Cabernet Sauvignons, and Pinot Noirs, and famously served his state's best wines during historical summits with leaders like Mikhail Gorbachev, end quote.
I actually love to know that there were a bunch of California wines in the wine
White House,
cellar of the White
which
House.
I would
That's
assume
cool.
that's probably
A lot of 'em.
true, a lot, but like maybe, I don't know, I could see a lot of wines being imported from France or whatever. So yeah, during his time period, it was all California wines.
Love it.
So one positive about his presidency.
One thing that we have in common.
So anyways, in honor of this and due to the absolute ease of living a hop, skip, and a jump away from local California wineries, we are each going to be having a glass or two of a local California wine. I don't believe we both got the same bottle. So
We did not.
Rachel, do you want to share what you got?
Yes, I will. And what do you mean? I definitely didn't bring the whole bottle in here with me. What do you mean?
What do you mean?
What do you mean? We're both staring at each other over Zoom, showing off our full.
I love your bottle.
So this is okay. So thank you. Yes. So thank you for asking. Let me tell you more. This is from Michael David. It is a winery based out of Lodi, California, which is like 20-ish minutes from me. And this winery is so cool. Like really kid friendly too. I know it's more of a drive for you, but like you guys should try to get there sometime. It like they have a playground, they have an on-site kitchen, and it's stunning. Like
We should all go.
fountains.
That
And have you
sounds-
and I not been together actually?
I
Wait.
feel like
we
we've
have
talked
gone.
about it, and yes, maybe. Yes.
I just
but I don't
realized-
remember a playground though.
Maybe because we weren't over there. But this was in our before kid days. No.
We were like,
I
"Ew."
actually can distinctly remember now walking through the gravel parking lot with Jill. So
Jill. Oh, maybe it was for my you know what? Maybe it was for my
your
one of my
birthday or
birthdays.
something?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm explaining this entire place to you. You and I have actually gone together.
Well, clearly, I don't have a great memory of it, so it's fine.
And anyway, it's just a really beautiful winery, and one of their signature wines is called the Freak Show. It's all just like circus themed. And so all
Love
the
it.
bottles are beautiful. And this particular one I got was a Zinfandel.
Okay. Love it. Okay.
Yeah.
I got a wine. It's called The Other, and it's got a naked lady on the front.
I really love that.
Have you had this one before?
No.
Oh, okay. It was gifted to me by someone,
Okay.
and I don't know who, but yeah, this one is also from Lodi Winery. It's the Purano Estate Vineyards, and it is a blend, a red blend. It's 60% Cabernet Sauvignon, 30% Merlot, and the other 10% Syrah.
I love blends. I am intrigued, hesitant, unsure how we're going to rank.
I know. I guess we just
A
each
wine.
drink our own. I don't know.
I just feel like my scale of I feel let me rephrase.
Okay.
I how do I
You like all wine?
Yeah, that's where I was going with this. It's just like wine to me, because I am not a wine snob, it tastes the
Right.
same to me. Like I've had bad wine, and by bad
yeah.
wine I mean like $4
$2 Chuck, yeah.
$2 Chuck wine, and to where like even I was like, I don't think I can finish a glass of this. And then
Yeah.
there's like way above that where I'm like, oh, I can taste that this is a better quality wine. Everything else falls in the middle.
Yeah, that's why you and I, girl, we get along when it comes to wine, because I'm the same way.
It's like if it's between the $8 and $15 range, like, yeah, sounds pretty good.
Great.
Which actually, I should add that this one was, I think, $17 or $18, which is a little above my range. So maybe I'm
Oh.
going to really like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this was gifted to me, so.
And actually, when I was Googling it online, it was in about the range of
Oh, okay.
this one, price-wise.
Great.
So hopefully
slightly above our
Yes.
normal range.
slightly above what you would buy yourself. Yes.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Well, cheers.
Cheers.
Clink.
I'm going to have a hard time ranking. I love
I
it.
know.
But it tastes like every wine I've ever had in my life. And to everyone out there that drinks wine, I'm sorry.
You know what? I'm with you. I am especially with you when it comes to red wines. It's really
Yeah.
hard for me to decipher red wines. White wines I actually can. Like I can often pick out the like fruity flavors
Yeah.
that are in white wines. For some
Agreed.
reason I can't red wines. I'm just
Yeah.
I don't know.
Have you ever had a Barbera?
Yeah, that's the wine I was trying to
Is
think
it?
of. Barbera. I remember like or at least I discovered it for the first time at Legends of Wine, and I was like, why have I never had this before?
And those I can not like if you put a Barbera in front of me, I would take a sip and be like, this is definitely, like, I wouldn't know,
Yeah,
like, this
yeah.
is definitely a Barbera. But if you tell me it's a Barbera, I'm like, oh yeah, I taste the difference between
Yeah,
this
yeah,
and
yeah.
other red wines.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not that, they all taste the same. I'm going to put this ranking at a 9.
Sure. Yeah. I'll go with
Okay.
that too.
Okay. Which is where I would rank every other red wine on the planet.
In California, you mean? Every other California
Every
red
other
wine.
California
Rachel.
red wine. That's correct. That's what I said. Which is pretty much the only wine I've ever had anyway.
I know, like
We're so lucky.
honestly, we are so lucky. I was just gonna say we honestly I've probably had very little imported wines from wherever else. I know I have had some, but not a lot, just because we are so lucky to have less expensive wines available to us, like literally vineyards within
Yep.
30 minutes of our houses.
Exactly. Exactly.
So-
And I'm even closer than you are. I have like 30 within 20 minutes of my house.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And then I have like up in Placerville area.
Oh, that's true.
Is so another direction from us is even more. So
I know. And then an hour and a half from both of us is Sonoma.
Napa, Sonoma, yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, fun fact while you take a few sips, because I know you're going to do a lot of talking after this.
I'll drink a lot.
Bonus Reagan drinking fact.
Ooh.
Reagan, and you probably know this, Reagan is actually the president responsible for signing the National Minimum Drinking Age Act in 1984, setting the national legal drinking age to what it currently is, 21. What a weird number to pick, but okay.
I didn't know that. I think if I were playing Jeopardy and I was given like multiple choice, I knew it happened in the 80s. So I probably could have used deductive reasoning to figure that out, but I did not know that. And that was a really cool fact. And I think that's like perfect for this little bit of the episode. That's cool.
Yay.
Thank you.
I'm probably going to be drinking, so you might not hear from me for a few minutes.
I'll just watch her on screen glug, 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 filling up the glass again.
I may or may not have already had half a glass before this. So.
Nice. Of course, before we can talk about the assassination attempt on Ronald Reagan, we have to talk a bit about Reagan himself. Don't worry, everyone. This is not like the Watergate episodes where I spent an entire episode essentially just talking about Nixon. Neither you nor even I want to talk about Reagan for an extended period of time. So in warp speed, let's just go really quickly through kind of the highlights and lowlights. And much of this information came from our American Presidents 101 episodes that we did earlier this season. So many of you already know this. Reagan became the 40th president of the United States and served 2 terms from 1981 to 1989. He was a relatively well-known actor before he was elected to 2 terms as governor of California. Leah already talked about that. Those acting skills came to use in his political life, but also when he served in World War II, he actually made a bunch of the training videos in the Army. He was very charismatic. He was a great speaker, and America yearned in the early 1980s for a return to conservative politics, both economically and spiritually. Reagan's economic policies became known as Reaganomics. Some of these policies included cutting government spending on social programs like food stamps and Medicaid. He imposed major tax cuts, primarily for the wealthy and corporations, widening the inequality gap. He created jobs which dropped unemployment, and he reduced federal oversight. Reagan was also the first to really form what could be considered a lasting political alliance between evangelical religious voters and the Republican Party. It was during Reagan's campaign and administration that things that we consider to be more religious, conservative sticking points, so things like abortion and prayer in schools and whatnot, definitively aligned with the GOP as party values. And that has a very impactful ripple effect that has persisted to this day. Mm-hmm. So very much more to say about Reagan, but this is neither the time nor the place. Well, let's be honest, this is definitely the place. Why did I say that? This is definitely the place for a discussion about Reagan. We just don't have the time.
Yeah, like an episode about Reagan, we can't talk about him. We can't.
A whole episode about Reagan. This is not the place for it.
This is not about that.
This history podcast where we drink and complain about history the entire time is not the place to be talking about Reagan. Okay, find somewhere else for that nonsense.
You gotta look elsewhere, guys. Jeez.
And as I like pour another glass of wine, I'm like, let's just throw this whole thing up in the air. Let's just talk about Reagan the whole time. Now, I think that all lays a pretty good backdrop for who Reagan was, and it helps us in setting up today's topic. But before we can do that, we have to lay some background on the other central figure in this story, and that is, of course, John Hinckley Jr. John Warnock Hinckley Jr. was born on...
Warnock?
When I wrote this, I thought of you. Because I was like...
Didn't.
As I was writing it, I could see your face. As I wrote his middle name, I was like, she's going to have something to say.
All I have to say is Warnock.
Which is precisely what I was anticipating you would say. Yes, the middle name is Warnock. He was born on May 29th, 1955 to an extremely wealthy and affluent family. I don't think that is oftentimes the profile of someone like this.
Yeah.
His dad was the founder and president of Vanderbilt Energy Corporation and was very closely connected to the Republican Party, particularly George H.W. Bush. Everyone in the family was really charismatic and outgoing, and even Hinckley Jr. seemed to kind of follow a similar trend, becoming the quarterback of his school's football team, president of a number of his classes, and he even was like managing his school's football team as a high schooler. Over time, though, his parents noticed he was becoming more and more recluse, spending several hours a day alone in his room playing guitar. He jumped to different colleges before eventually dropping out. And then in 1976, he moved to Los Angeles, where he planned to become a songwriter without success. That summer, he went and saw the movie Taxi Driver 15 times. Have you ever seen this movie?
No, I haven't. I've wanted to, mostly because of this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what? And I know Jodie Foster was a young actress in it. Like, that's kind of all I know about it.
I actually have never seen it either. Sorry if that is disappointing to any of our listeners. But I'm exactly the same, that like if I would see it, it's for now this like historical context, right?
Yep.
But I can tell you what I do know about it from reading many movie reviews and looking on Rotten Tomatoes. Taxi Driver is a to this day, it's a very popular psychological drama movie that came out in 1976. If you look right now on Rotten Tomatoes, it has an overall approval rating of 89%.
Which is pretty good.
For Rotten Tomatoes. Mm-hmm. It has an average rating of 9.1 out of 10 on Rotten Tomatoes. So this was and continues to be a very well-known and loved film. It was directed by Martin Scorsese, and it's pretty dark. It's about, get this, a taxi driver.
What?
Played by Robert De Niro, who is also a Vietnam War veteran who slowly mentally deteriorates over the course of the movie as he descends into paranoia and loneliness amid the quote-unquote filth of New York City. Mm-hmm. A controversial casting choice for the movie was that of 12-year-old Jodie Foster as a child sex worker. Controversial because she was so young to be acting in such a dark and disturbing movie in such a mature role. Mm-hmm. But also the fact that Foster was cast in this movie became controversial for another reason, because perhaps she is a large reason as to why Hinckley went to see this movie so many times. Over time, he developed a massive and unhealthy infatuation with her. He wrote to his parents about a non-existent girlfriend that he had named Lynn Collins, who was largely based on her character in the movie. And this isn't where inspiration for the movie turned into real life stopped for Hinckley, because one other major plot of the movie is that De Niro's character becomes fixated on assassinating a presidential candidate, stalking him and showing up at rallies before he was eventually stopped by the Secret Service. And as we already know and are soon to see, Hinckley took that inspiration into real life. Hinckley moved back and forth between his family in Colorado and California. By the late 1970s and into the early 1980s, he started purchasing his first weapons, such as a .38 caliber pistol and multiple .22 caliber handguns. He also purchased Devastator bullets. These are a particular cartridge that explodes on impact. This is going to become important later. Mm-hmm. His mental health also continued to decline around this time, and he began taking antidepressant medication and tranquilizers.
Jeez.
In 1980, Hinckley saw a People magazine article about Foster that motivated his next move. I searched and searched and I could not find the full article anymore. Apparently, People magazine does not archive their stuff from the 1980s. Or they do, and it's behind a paywall. But I did find the cover for this issue, and actually the cover gives us enough information for what I want to share with our audience. So I'm hoping that you can look at it, Leah, and tell our audience kind of what you see on the cover, and then like what is the headline about Jodie Foster.
Well, first and foremost, Sissy and Loretta's warm friendship is the upper, not the main article, but one of the other articles, which I just needed to draw attention to.
Thank you.
Yeah. But then, it's a really kind of, I don't know how to describe it, windblown picture of Jodie Foster, but still wearing what I would describe as collegiate clothing.
Yeah.
And it just says, Foxy Jodie Foster stuns showbiz by putting her career on hold for college. Lucky Yale.
Clearly not trying to protect her privacy or her security whatsoever. This magazine literally says on the cover, not only that she's
going to school.
Yeah, not only that she's going to school, but exactly where she's going to school. Yeah. So having read this article, Hinckley, with his nearly 10 years combined college experience that had resulted in 0 degrees, pretended to enroll in a writing course at Yale in the hopes of meeting Foster. At Yale, he was able to get the phone number to her dorm room and actually did speak to her on 2 different occasions before she stopped answering his calls. He wrote her several poems and letters, one of which we will be reading soon.
Oh, God.
And by we, I mean you.
I know you do.
That's why she said, oh, God. And became committed to the idea that the only way that he could really gain her attention and interest was if he assassinated the president. It didn't matter who the president was, because in 1980, when his delusions reached their peak, Jimmy Carter was still president. Hinckley traveled to Nashville for one of Carter's campaign stops, but was arrested at the airport when security discovered several handguns in his luggage. He was fined $62.50, and that was it. I've gotten in more trouble for shampoo before. You were there.
You literally have. I witnessed it.
You were there for that. When it was clear that Reagan was to become the next president of the United States, Hinckley switched his sights to him, even standing outside the St. John's Episcopal Church in Washington, D.C. on January 20th, 1981, where Reagan attended a church service before being inaugurated. I wanted to mention all that because I think it's important when we look at presidential assassinations and attempted assassinations. 99.9% of the time, the motivation is who that person is,
yeah.
the president, and what they stand for, right? Yes. Like Lincoln and Kennedy and all these people, their assassins or would-be assassins had reason to want to kill them because of what they stood for in their platform.
Mm-hmm.
This is not one of those cases.
Yeah.
He was just trying to get what, in his delusion, the attention of a very, very young actress, and thought that this would be the way.
It was, yeah.
Then on March 30th, 1981, Hinckley made the now infamous assassination attempt on Reagan. And yes, March of 1981, you heard that correctly. That means that Reagan had only been president for about 2 months when this attempted assassination took place. Mm-hmm. Just hours before Hinckley made this attempt, he wrote Foster a letter which read the following, if you will, please.
Yes. Dear Jodie, there is definitely a possibility that I will be killed in my attempt to get Reagan. It is for this very reason that I am writing you this letter now. As you well know by now, I love you very much. Over the past 7 months, I've left you dozens of poems, letters, and love messages in the faint hope that you could develop an interest in me. Although we talked on the phone a couple of times, I never had the nerve to simply approach you and introduce myself. Besides my shyness, I honestly did not wish to bother you with my constant presence.
Too late.
Only my poems. I know the many messages left at your door and in your mailbox were a nuisance, but I felt that it was the most painless way for me to express my love for you. I feel very good about the fact that you at least know my name and how I feel about you, and by hanging around your dormitory, I've come to realize that I'm the top of more than a little conversation, however full of ridicule it may be. At least you know that I'll always love you, Jodie. I would abandon the idea of getting Reagan in a second if I could only win your heart and live out the rest of my life with you, whether it be in total obscurity or whatever. I will admit to you that the reason I'm going ahead with this attempt now is because I cannot wait any longer to impress you. I've got to do something now to make you understand in no uncertain terms that I'm doing all of this for your sake. By sacrificing my freedom and possibly my life, I hope to change your mind about me. This letter is being written only an hour before I leave for the Hilton Hotel. Jodie, I'm asking you to please look into your heart and at least give the chance with this historical deed to gain your love and respect. I love you forever, John W. Hinckley.
It's
just delusional. It's like, as much like I don't obviously want, like, he's a criminal who did this very bad thing, but like, and I don't want to like diminish that or like, I don't know, whatever the opposite of victim blame is, but but also he's very disturbed. Mm-hmm. He was very disturbed.
Yeah, I think you don't have to diminish it in order to humanize it.
Yeah. And
because I'm a nerd and I've loved history for so long. It's just interesting and funny, quote unquote funny, over time, as you mature, like now that I read this, I'm like you just said, this is someone that is unhinged, delusioned, mentally ill. I remember reading this 10 plus years ago, more like 15 years ago, something like that, right? And just being like, that's crazy. What was he thinking? Yeah, just kind of like seriously, like I would never do that in order to get Daniel Radcliffe's attention. You know, I would definitely do something different, right? But that's comparing someone with the same
You're also
brain.
not on tranquilizers.
Correct.
So, you know, like, I don't know. It's there's so much like, how did A become Z? You know what I mean? Like, how did you get to that? That there is no explanation. There is.
That's really great. Yeah, because there were no letters in between. A jumped directly to Z with no explanation in the middle.
Yeah. There's just no clear thinking really happening there. So
for sure. Now, Hinckley hadn't actually intended to pursue this assassination attempt on that particular day, but when he read Reagan's presidential schedule in the Washington Star and realized that he and Reagan would be in D.C. at the same time, he just decided that March 30th was going to be the day.
Yeah.
Reagan was giving a speech at the Washington Hilton, the same hotel where the White House Correspondents' Dinner was just a month or so ago, where there was an assassination attempt made on Trump. The difference here is that the Secret Service did pre-checks and considered the Washington Hilton one of the safest places in all of D.C. because of special safety precautions they had put in place. Mm-hmm. That's not exactly where the differences end. But how much time do we have? How much wine do we have?
Not enough. Not enough for that discussion.
Now, there was, however, a short stretch of sidewalk, roughly 30 feet, where the president would have to walk that would expose him to the press and other citizens that had gathered outside as he was making his way to his limo. And this is the area in which Hinckley prepared to kill the president. So there's actually footage of this I'd like us to watch. Don't worry, it's not graphic because it's chaos and people are like, woo, woo. You know, the camera goes all crazy. You won't see anything.
Okay.
Do you want to describe anything of what you saw?
Yeah. So my favorite, sorry, it's not a funny thing.
Like my favorite part of this attempted assassination that I just watched
was the two dead bodies on the ground. No, sorry, but yeah, there were two dead bodies on the ground by the end of it. I mean, or dying bodies, right? But no, honestly, like there's this one guy. He's like an African American gentleman with like a little bit of a fro, holding a pistol in his hand, like covering Reagan, and he looks, no joke, straight out of like a 70s. Like I was just like, this is a movie,
a cop film. Yeah,
a cop film. The way he was holding the gun, it was perfect.
And he has like a blue suit on or
with
something
the mustache,
too, right?
Yeah. It was his dress. It was the whole package.
Aviator glasses.
Yes. Yes. Pretty sure like handlebar mustache or something.
For sure. It is a relic of the time, that is for certain.
Yeah, but I mean, so the video just shows Reagan walking out, and honestly, just the open, it's not like it's stanchioned off or anything like that. He's walking on the sidewalk, and yeah, he has security around him, but like he is pretty open. He's like waving to folks, and then you hear gunshots and chaos ensues.
Yep. And it goes to show how quickly something like that can happen too, because you saw it, like it's such a short stretch of a sidewalk that he had to walk. It was 30 feet. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we know now you have to be on guard and all those things all the time, but I can see the innocence in thinking, like, we have enough staff around. It's 30 feet.
Yeah.
So it is kind of hard to see what all is happening in that video, aside from the mustache. So let's talk through some of the details. At 2:27 p.m., Reagan walked this very short stretch of sidewalk where there were several members of the public and the media waiting for him. Despite the Secret Service and local police vetting the attendees, Hinckley was able to sneak in, and just as Reagan passed through, he crouched down and shot at the president a total of 6 times in 1.7 seconds.
Fast.
Yeah. The first shot hit White House Press Secretary James Brady directly in the head. It entered just above his left eye and down into his skull, where it exploded from within. A D.C. police officer, Thomas Dillahunty, was also shot in the back of the neck by another bullet. Secret Service agent Tim McCarthy, who quite literally placed himself in front of Reagan so as to protect him, was hit in the chest with another bullet, which pierced his right lung, diaphragm, and liver. And then the sixth and final bullet was what hit Reagan. Actually, it hit the side of the limousine that he was actively being shoved into, ricocheted off of it, and entered into his body from his left underarm.
Wow.
Reagan's Secret Service forced him into the limo and tore off at the same time that another Secret Service agent, a man named Dennis McCarthy, jumped on top of Hinckley on the sidewalk. That's what you saw a lot towards the end of that video, was just a pile of bodies on top of somebody. Yep. Between McCarthy and other citizens that were there that day, Hinckley was subdued and eventually arrested. Back in the limo, the Secret Service examined Reagan and, upon finding no blood on him, announced that he had not been shot and that they would head straight to the White House to seek any potential medical care there. The Secret Service much preferred that he receive care at the White House, a location where they could guarantee his security versus a public hospital. But shortly thereafter, Reagan began complaining of severe pain in his ribs. It was initially believed that perhaps his ribs had been cracked when he had been thrown into the limousine, and then not long after that, he began coughing up blood. Still not realizing that he had been hit by a bullet, and instead thinking that perhaps his ribs had indeed been cracked during the scuffle and that those ribs were now potentially puncturing his lungs, Secret Service agent in charge, Jerry Parr, made the pivotal decision, a decision that ultimately saved Reagan's life, to not attempt to go to the White House and instead make a detour to the nearby George Washington University Hospital.
Which, like, I feel like every assassination we've talked about, or haven't talked about that I know about, where that haven't been successful, it's very often due to either poor sanitation / doctors not knowing what they're doing, or security being like, no, we need to go to safety, or whatever. It makes a difference.
I can definitely hear you speaking from experience about the Garfield assassination. For sure. But then I also, as you were saying that, I was thinking of Lincoln's assassination, where, I mean, the bullet went into his head, right? Like, what was he ever going to survive that? But certainly his death was prolonged and made even more miserable by the fact that people were shoving their fingers into his head, that he was put onto a stretcher and then like carried along the wobbly roads of DC to the Peterson house.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Peterson house is
for sure. The limo arrived at the hospital in less than 4 minutes. Reagan, determined to appear strong and not alarm members of the public who were watching nearby, refused to be helped into the hospital and actually walked inside the building all on his own, just to collapse the minute he got inside. He was then immediately rushed to the emergency room. There, it was found that the president had indeed been shot. And despite the fact that he was in near shock and would eventually lose more than half of the blood in his body.
Ugh, that grosses me out.
It grosses me out too. He had enough wherewithal to make jokes. For example, when his wife arrived, he looked at her and said, quote, "Honey, I forgot to duck," unquote. When the doctors cut through his suit to find the wounds, he complained to them about how they were cutting open a $1,000 custom suit and that he wanted it back.
Okay.
You don't like that one. And then just before the doctors were about to operate on him, he said to them, quote, "I hope you all are Republicans," unquote. To which the operating doctor, who was not a Republican, replied, quote, "Today, Mr. President, we are all Republicans," unquote.
Okay.
I don't hate it. It's a kind of funny joke.
Sure.
During the operation, it was found that the .22 caliber bullet that had entered Reagan's underarm had pierced through into his rib where it broke one, punctured and partially collapsed his left lung, and then landed within an inch of his heart. Remarkably, the medical staff was able to successfully remove the bullet and gave the president the incredible news that they anticipated him being back at work within a matter of weeks.
Nice.
Crazy.
Kudos to the medical staff.
No kidding, right? To perform an operation like that?
Yeah.
The FBI took over the investigation of the case. One of the first things they did was search Hinckley's hotel room, where his entire plan to assassinate the president was literally right before their eyes. He had left out a map of where he was going that day. The newspaper that had shown the president's schedule for that day was left out, and so was
The newspaper had the president's schedule?
That's how he it was in, what did I say? I think the Washington Star. Is that where it was? I mean, even still, I know, like, if you look online, Trump's schedule
true.
is posted every
Yeah.
single day.
Yeah.
That's how I know that he's going golfing all the time. I mean, that's what his schedule was this entire weekend when he didn't show up to his son's wedding. One of his kids was getting married this weekend, and he was asked by reporters, like, are you going to go to your son's wedding? And he literally was like, I don't know. I'm kind of busy this week. And he's like, although I have known the guy for a long time. He said that. He doesn't go. And his itinerary for the entire weekend was him just golfing on one of his courses.
Oh, Jesus.
But yeah, so the president's schedule used to be printed in the newspaper. Now it's posted online.
Right.
That was there in the hotel room, as was the letter that he had written to Jodie Foster just hours before committing the crime. Hinckley would face trial 1 year later, beginning on April 27th, 1982, and running through to June 21st of that year. Ahead of the trial, he was evaluated by several psychiatrists, all of which came away with differing opinions. Those on the prosecution side said he was a bit wonky, but was sane and understood that what he had done was wrong. Those on the defense side all said that he was psychotic and legally insane at the time of the shooting. While awaiting trial, Hinckley made several attempts to end his life by suicide. Regardless, he was made to stand trial, and in order to get him to do so, they had to commit to one of his demands, which was that he refused to cooperate with his own defense team unless they could get Jodie Foster to testify. It's like so awful. Foster's attorneys were able to negotiate things so that the now 19-year-old Foster wouldn't have to appear at trial, but could instead provide a video-recorded testimony in a closed session with only the judge, lawyers, and Hinckley present, which is still a total nightmare and so deeply unfair. Like, it's just so deeply unfair. She had no responsibility. Zero responsibility for what happened. During this closed session, Foster refused to even so much as look at Hinckley, causing him to lash out and throw a ballpoint pen at her, yelling, quote, "I'll get you, Foster," unquote. He had to be escorted out of the room. For Foster, this was the last time she would have to be in Hinckley's presence, but this case traumatized and surrounded her forever. She ended up taking a year off from Yale, employed a bodyguard to follow her around all the time, and was known to frequently leave interviews or other speaking engagements if she was pressed to answer questions about the case. She has only spoken about it a few times in the more than 40 years since it happened. She actually did a podcast interview. I think it was in 2021 or 2022. That's the most recent time that she talked about it. But probably the most insight we've ever gotten from how she felt about it was in 1982, about a year and a half after the assassination attempt. She wrote a whole essay titled "Why Me?" for Esquire magazine. It's still available online, and I highly recommend you all check it out. It is not behind a paywall. It was a really great article. The trial dragged on for weeks. The prosecution introduced evidence of Hinckley's plans to assassinate the president, any president, showing that his sights had originally been on Carter. They introduced Foster's testimony and the unhinged letters that Hinckley wrote to her. They introduced the weapons he purchased and the other people, in addition to Reagan, that he had shot and injured that day. But then the defense got up and introduced a long history of Hinckley's mental illness. His family testified about how he had written to them about that fake girlfriend, Lynn. They talked about how he ranted and raved about Jodie Foster and John Lennon. His psychiatrist spoke about how he considered Hinckley to be schizophrenic. And when it all came down to it, the judge reminded the jury that their primary role was to determine if Hinckley had been sane at the time of the shooting. After 3 days of deliberating, the jury returned with a verdict of not guilty by reason of insanity. Following his acquittal, Hinckley was held at St. Elizabeth's Hospital, a psychiatric hospital in D.C., where he was ordered to stay until he no longer posed a risk to himself or society. And in September of 2021, John Hinckley Jr., at the age of 66, was released from the hospital without restrictions or oversight.
Do we know how he's doing?
It's my understanding that he is now living in Williamsburg, Virginia, where he spends his time writing music and posting it on YouTube. Though I didn't want to screw up my YouTube algorithm, so transparently, I did not confirm that information, but that's what the internet says.
Okay.
If any of our listeners would like to serve as an intern here and do that research for me, let me know. Both, is that true, and how does it sound?
Is it good?
Yeah, and is it good? As for Reagan, he went on to serve the remainder of his presidential term and be reelected to a second term in 1984. Despite what was a near-death experience, Reagan reportedly never suffered from any long-term injuries as a result of the shooting. Mm. The same cannot be said of others unfortunately caught in the crossfire. Secret Service agent Tim McCarthy, who had been hit in the chest, was the only one of the bystanders to successfully recover fully. The D.C. police officer who had been shot in the back of the neck, Tom Dillahunty, suffered permanent nerve damage to his left arm, forcing him to retire from the police force. Interestingly, you'll recall that Hinckley had loaded his gun with Devastator cartridges, bullets that explode upon impact. The bullet in Dillahunty's neck hadn't exploded, and so when doctors were removing the bullet, they actually wore bulletproof vests in order, or, you know, in case it exploded during the extraction.
That's straight out of Grey's Anatomy, man.
And then, of course, the greatest damage was to White House Press Secretary James Brady, who had been shot in the head where the bullet had exploded. As a result, he was left partially paralyzed with slurred speech and forced to use a wheelchair for the rest of his life.
I mean, honestly, the fact that he survived it all
Oh
is
my God.
crazy.
He had a bullet explode inside of his skull.
Brain.
Mm-hmm. The fact that so many people were shot that day and nobody died.
And nobody died.
Mm-hmm.
I actually, yeah, that's shocking.
Mm-hmm. Brady and his wife both became huge advocates for gun control. And it is because of them that we have the Brady Handgun Violence Prevention Act, which was passed in 1993 and is the reason why there are mandated background checks on firearm purchases and a system to prevent certain people from obtaining guns. The attempted assassination on Reagan created several other interesting consequences and legacies. I'm going to list some of them off here in no particular order. They didn't fit neatly within the episode, but they were things that were like too interesting to not mention.
Okay.
The first one is that we have the assassination attempt to credit for CNN's prominence now. At the time of the shooting, CNN was actually like a second string cable network that had a really small audience. But because of the way that they stayed on the story for hours and hours and hours on end, they were like the only news station that was 24/7. It garnered a larger audience and eventually established its reputation as one of the top news sources still to this day.
Wow.
Interestingly, the 53rd Academy Awards had to be postponed because of the assassination attempt.
Yeah.
Following the assassination, Reagan's approval ratings jumped all the way to 70%.
From what? Like probably mid-50s?
They actually were pretty high at the time. I think they were at like 60-ish.
60-ish? Okay.
Yeah. So but then again, he also had just become president.
I was going to say, what did you say, 2 months or two? Like,
yeah, it was 2 months. Even Donald Trump started his presidency with like 50% approval rating.
Yeah.
And finally, Hinckley's verdict of not guilty by reason of insanity actually led Congress to write new laws about how and when this defense could be used. Congress was able to get things shifted so that the burden was placed on the defense to prove insanity in future cases. Historically, this had been the prosecution's responsibility. Laws were also changed to make it so that the defendant would have to prove at the precise moment of the crime that they were severely mentally ill, and that this proof can now only be met through a series of specific legal tests. And finally, following this verdict, 4 states outright abolished the insanity defense. Idaho, Kansas, Montana, and Utah do not have not guilty by reason of insanity as a sentence. Instead, these states have alternate sentences, things such as guilty but mentally insane or guilty but mentally ill.
So probably just like lesser
Well-
sentences or something.
Well, because the other is not guilty by reason of insanity, and these are saying like, nope, you're guilty, but you're also were insane at the time. Yeah, I mean, I'd have to do more research to really grasp how I feel about that, because it's like, if you killed someone, yeah, you're guilty of killing someone, but like, what were your mental capacities at the time?
Yeah.
And does it matter what your mental capacities were
I know.
if you killed someone?
It's a bit of a gray area.
It's very gray. Yeah. Any closing thoughts?
No. I'm sorry.
Bad timing when I had a whole mouthful of wine. Like, end on that note. Nothing to add.
Honestly, just like, I guess the biggest thing that comes from, like, the biggest question or whatever that comes from this is like, not one that I think either of us can answer right now, is what do we believe, or do we agree with like the pleading insanity, you know, is that a legit reason for not being held accountable for actions taken? You know, it's really hard.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's really gray.
Yeah.
It's really gray. Well, thank you all so much for listening to this episode of #History.
We will share a picture that we discussed on the episode to our Instagram. All sources used to put together this episode can be found on our website at #history-pod.com.
A special thank you to my husband, Alex, for editing the podcast. You're the best. This
You're the
episode, we gossiped a lot. Thank you for cutting it out.
Oh my God, yeah.
Subscribe to us on whatever podcast platform you use. Share about us with your family and friends, and then give us a rate and review.
And be sure to check us out on Instagram. We are at #history_podcast.
And come join us over on Patreon, where for as little as $1 a month, you can help support our books and booze supply. This is a place where you can just support the podcast, and in exchange for your support, you will receive an automatic 15% off all merchandise, and we mail you cards and stickers.
And we want to share very quickly about the exciting guest that's going to be joining us for next week's episode.
Yes, so for our season 17 finale, we had the distinct pleasure of interviewing author and historian John Garrison Marks about his newest book, Thy Will Be Done, George Washington's Legacy of Slavery and the Fight for American Memory. It was really such a great conversation. I learned so much.
Yeah, and I know that the last few like guest interviews, I know I haven't been able to be a part of, but like it was one of my favorites that I can recall recently.
I completely agree. It was so fun. He was so cool. We got to chit chat off mic both before and after the interview, and like he was just so great, and I'm really looking forward to you all hearing the conversation. It was awesome. So be sure to join us for that next time.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.